stay locked in love for a night or two, losing sleep just to get off you. Day to day you wanna stay out, you're chasing love, holding on for life, fading out, chasing life, chasing life.
We're living for the moment now, we're one with the world. I can't lose this feeling I get. My heart's in the right place, and so is my soul, yeah. I won't take no excuses for it. Love it, need it, live it. I feel like something's missing when I do not have it. I feel it in my bones, gotta find my space. These emotions on my face, taking a toll, I gotta pay it forward. I'll give it all that I can. No matter what, I won't let up. It's in my soul, it's in my blood, and I won't take no for an answer. If it don't hurt me, it makes me stronger. Yeah, no what, I won't let up. It's in my soul, it's in my blood, and I won't take it no more. I won't be there. Just leave it to me. I know what I need. You'll find if you see. And if you believe, you live and you breathe, you'll find the key. Lifting me, lifting you. Can't go alone, let's do by two. Doing this together, it's me by you. All through the night, all through the night. This is me, this is you. When we get together, we can all pull through. I don't ever wanna stop this groove. Let's get it right. Take it to the Lord, then take it to the grave. Listen to the wise man, tell me what to say. Listen to your heartbeat like it still bleed. A little bit of hope, yeah, it's what we still need. Say a little prayer for the moment. Give what you got, just go in. Can't hold you back if you own it. Live your life like you're chosen. No matter what, I won't let up. It's in my soul, it's in my blood, and I won't take no for an answer. If it don't hurt me, it makes me stronger. You know what, I won't let up. It's in my soul, it's in my blood, and I won't take it no more. I won't be there. Just leave it to me. I know what I need. You'll find if you see. And if you believe, you live and you breathe, you'll find the key. Know what I need, I know what I need.
Welcome, everybody, to another race from RCI TV. Today, back in Germany. In fact, I know we were here last weekend. Don't be confused. It is a different time here in Germany this week for our Night Owl race. Of course, 3 hours of Nurburgring last week. Heck of an exciting race. I believe, if I am not mistaken, Jesse and I also flew out to Hungaroring just after that. Made sure we brought you guys the Night Owl Championship live. And, of course, now we're back in Germany for round 3 of this Night Owl Cup. Our normal broadcaster, Mr. Nick Setnick, could not make it today. Our new broadcaster, Stewie, here bringing us all the live pictures. Currently watching Harry Conway on the track. My name is Mike Jones, and of course, would this be a Night Owl race without Jesse Lee's voice gracing our presence?
Oh, well, hello, Mike, and our producer slash broadcaster, Stewie, here. Fantastic to be back with all of you for, I believe this is round 3 of the Night Owl Championship. And like Mr. Mike Jones said, don't adjust your television set. This is the Nurburgring. And a lot of you are wondering, wait a minute, didn't you guys do this last weekend? The answer to that is sort of. Had a 3-hour endurance race, mixed class here. Of course, that wasn't Night Owl. We were at Hungaroring for Night Owl a weekend ago, but we have made our way back to the Rhineland here in Germany, and we are glad to be with you here at RCI TV. And let's just go ahead and start with it. Let's get the elephant out of the room. It is wet practice, Mr. Mike Jones.
It sure is. This Audi of Harry Conway doing really well across the wet here, though. He's looking like he's got plenty of grip as we're now forwarding out to our Q session. So at this point, Stewie should be able to jump back to garage and then hit drive again. We'll get back into the action as we are going to see the first cars come out of here for a wet qualifying as well. Of course, last week at Nurburgring, we did not have any wet races or any wet weather. Same thing at Hungaroring, just a nice cold weather going on. This one, it's actually pretty warm though, despite that, Jesse. 25°C out on the track as we're watching 3 of our first drivers come out of the pits. It looks like Urquizy making it out first, and that is, I believe, Mathis there that we're watching, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, perhaps Nicholas Gonzalez in between them. So we're going to see 3 guys come out here, slap down our first laps in this 15 minutes of wet qualifying. It's going to be interesting in these Porsches.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be incredibly interesting on a lot of accounts. We have the weather. We expect the weather to persist at least through qualifying, perhaps into the race. These drivers are prepared for that. I know that during practice, they got ample time to practice in the wet. Direct your eyes to the top right of the screen. This weather is not going to let up for qualifying. Track is deemed wet by the track officials. And like you said, it's 25°C. That is muggy no matter where you are in this conversation. No wind to speak of at the moment, but one thing's for sure, in some of these mid-engine cars, these rear-engine cars, if there are those, it's going to be a bit more tricky than if you're in a front-engine vehicle here today. It's going to be interesting to see as qualifying plays out and as the race plays out, if it is indeed wet, how they do in comparison. I know that some people, some of these Audis out here, they really don't like the wet weather.
Yeah, neither of the Porsches really, Jesse. I mean, that's the thing is we've got the Porsches and the Audis, while they are pretty much exclusively some of the best bopped cars in ACC overall, and pretty reasonable at Nürburgring themselves. Ooh, Mathis catching a little bit of the gravel there, and that is showing it right there. Just a little slickness, touches the gravel slightly, and it just throws him sideways. So that's going to be Mathis's first lap out of the equation. He's probably going to have to teleport back to pits quickly, get back out on the track. He does have 15 minutes qualifying. We do have plenty of qualifying here during the Night Owl Championship. Of course, this is our winner from last week. Sorry, Ismail did end up with the victory last week, didn't he? Because that was at Kyalami. This is Urquizy here. His teammate currently holds the points lead. Bellasane and Urquizy, of course, for H3 Racing, as we saw a pretty dominating performance team-wise last week, Jesse. But the question is, with this Audi, can they hold through that this week as well, or will the Breck, even though that Lambo is a monstrous handful in the wet, will he still be dominating, or is this the Aston V12's time to shine today?
I don't know, but one thing's for interesting here. I had a private conversation with Cody Blanton this week, and Cody was unsure if they were going to be able to make this race today, but I'm actually pleasantly surprised to see that number 2 car in the field today. I'll be honest, I had written them off. I had written them off as not being here, but here they are. So that just throws another piece of the puzzle into the box because we don't know where they're going to sort out. Of course, Cody Blanton, a big factor in some of the 9 Owl and other races that we have done. So we expect them to be a player today as well. But like you said, this H3 Racing team, they were clearly the dominant team last time out at Hungaroring. They were on the ball. They were racing each other. I wanted to see them race each other a little bit harder, but obviously they didn't have any interest in doing that, though they did get at each other a few times in some of those corners. It was fun stuff to watch, but they were both able to bring those cars home, and they made it look good. Those two Audis did, and they're looking fast here today as well. Alistair Gillies, the quickest so far, though, comes through, sets a 2-minute .942. Not bad for a wet track, although I just noticed it went to damp. Is that because the cars are wicking away enough water to go back to damp? Because it certainly isn't drying up out there.
You know, Jesse, this is an interesting conversation that I had with some of the drivers before the race. Come to think of it, I was sitting here discussing, I believe it was with one of the Audi drivers. I think it was Urquizy, if I'm not mistaken. Me and him were mentioning it. I'm wondering, this rain is not too heavy here, and forecast for the race in tomorrow's session.
We are 5 minutes into qualifying, and Mike Jones is going to lay some strategy on us. Go for it.
I am, because here's the thing. I think that even though it's going to be raining for the race, we know it's going to be raining. Forecast is showing rain for the race. However, is it going to be raining enough that we're going to see a dry line form or not? Because I think, looking at the track here, now that we have all these cars out on the track, I think about 20 minutes into the race, these guys are going to be going, oh crap, I need some slicks. So,
oh dear,
I don't know.
I think you're right, because look, any team and driver here today is learning, or right now is learning something. They know that when qualifying started, this track was wet. They know that we put about 30-ish cars on the track, and then 5 minutes later, it goes back down to damp in the same amount of rain condition. So they're learning right now that that is a possibility. So what do? Do you put, whoa, as Al Gillies gets it big wrong, he's going to come all the way back across the track, block the track. He's going to let that thing clutch it and roll it all the way to the outside and reset. He's going to have to take another shot at it, unknown if he was on a faster lap, but ruined by the chicane. How many times do we see that? And speaking of things that we don't usually see often, Ishmael Lebrecht, back in 24th place, hasn't set a time yet, should be coming up to do that. Ishmael Lebrecht, one of the dominating cars in this championship so far. He's part of the Lamb Boys team, and he has been he's been carrying his weight, I should say, for his team, and doing a darn good job of that. He's going to come across the line here. We'll see where he slots through. Good enough for third. Not bad at all. Just about 2/10 thereabout off the quickest time. But these guys right now, like I was saying, they're learning a lesson right now in qualifying about what they can and they cannot do, or what they should do. So, Mike, I'm going to throw it to you. Do you suffer the first couple of laps on slicks in the wet for the potential of it drying out? And what happens if you do that and it doesn't?
That's so hard, Jesse, because here's the thing. I think running in these damp conditions like this, if it stays damp or if it goes greasy, right? So there's multiple levels of wetness that ACC will display for us, right? It'll show dry, which is your optimum fast and green. It will show greasy, it will show damp, and it will show wet. Currently, we're still at that point where I think running, the wet tires is the way to go. It's close though. Once you're in that damp, you could very well potentially slap on some slicks and crank up the tire pressures a little bit. Normally your tire pressures sit at about 27.5 to 28 psi, give or take, in optimum conditions, right? In the damp, you're probably going to want that closer to 29, maybe even up to 30. If it got to greasy, that would answer the question. If it dropped down another level, I think that would answer the question of you're definitely on slicks. But you can still see if you pay close attention to the road as we're watching Robles come across, there is you can see just that little bit of texture difference on the road where there is nothing, like right there through the middle. You can see there's just no dampness on that track. I don't think wets are the right call. I think slicks are going to be it.
Is Ryan Gill in this week, or is he absent?
Unfortunately, the Lamb Boys number 2 will be absent this week. Ryan Gill has to be up bright and early tomorrow morning. Could not make the Night Owl race. I believe he's out watching a real life race tomorrow, perhaps. In fact, so not racing tonight, unfortunately. So it will be all on the break for the Lamb Boys.
Well, you know what Lebrec can do, so that will be interesting to see as Harry Conway comes across the line. He's slotted up into the 4th position now, 2/10 off of the pace. This is typically what we see here at the Nurburgring Grand Prix Strecke here, isn't it? We typically see a lot of cars really closely tight packed together, top 9 all within a full second of one another. And the rain, of course, always the great equalizer. And me and Mike Jones, we love talking about strategy racing in the rain and the differences between that and a dry track. And I like seeing these drivers be taken out of their comfort zone. A lot of these guys, they love a nice, dry, hot, sticky track, and they're getting the complete opposite of that today. But we are going to see some strategy, and it would not surprise me if one of those strategies is what wins somebody a race here today.
I totally concur, Jesse. I think that strategy is going to be king here today. We have seen, different pit strategies overall throughout this championship through the first 2 rounds. However, there's only one requirement for your pit stop during this race, and that is you must take at least 1 liter of fuel. Here's the thing. Wet start of the race. Do you start with wets and then come in and do that 30-second tire change? You could also take less fuel as well at the start at that, right? So you'll be a little bit faster at the start. You won't have quite as much fuel either if you do that. But is it going to be worth adding 26 or so seconds to your pit stop? That's going to be the question. Do you start with wets? Do you just take the slicks? I think if it were me, I think I'd take the slicks. But then again, there's a reason that, these guys are a heck of a lot faster than the 2 of us on track, Jess.
Alistair Gillies does come in and throw a bombshell, a 2-minute .717, improves upon his time a couple of tenths, and that puts about 3.5 tenths between him and second place Urquizy. Urquizy coming around the sort of going down in, past the stadium section down into the Dunlop curve, or hairpin as I call it. We'll see if he can improve upon his time, because now Alistair Gillies has put the gauntlet down and nobody else has shown that they can keep up with him as qualifying coming to a close, 3 minutes left. Everybody likely going to get the lap they're on, and one more lap if they stay out on track. Of course, here comes Urquizy coming through.
I think Urquizy might have it here. If he can keep this up, Jess, he's 3/10 up.
Well, just look how smooth he looks, Mike. He's driving around here, and it doesn't look... I always said, and Jeremy Clarkson always said that, typically speaking, the laps that look slow or controlled are typically the ones that are quickest. And it just looks like he's out here on a nice Saturday afternoon's drive through a rain shower. Nothing dramatic or strange about his driving, and typically those are the ones that we find are quick. We're going to find out in just a couple of short corners. Look at
Bellasane back in 6th place. He's going to come across the line here in a second. He's 6/10 up. He might just upset them all. And there it is. It's a 10th faster than Gilly. So the question is, Urquizy coming out of the last corner? I don't think he's going to make it, but his teammate did just make it and took away pole position. Not quite enough for Urquizy. Back in third place, he did make up a little time, but Belisane just upset everybody, coming up by 6.5 tenths that lap.
Well, this is more of the same of what we have expected out of the H3 racing team. They race well together, they race politely together, but they're also constantly inside the top 5 fighting for position, and that was what made last week so interesting, is that they had to fight each other. Might that be the case today as well, considering how close it appears they are going to start? And it doesn't appear as if Gillies is going to contest this, and Urquizy has also come back down pit road. Belisane, who we are riding on board with here, has continued on the track. He looks like he's going out for another bite of the cherry. But Gillies and Urquizy, they've said at this point that they are done, that they cannot get around the track quick enough to start another lap. So they will have to set in that position. Lebrec in fourth place has his Lamborghini still out on the track. Half of the drivers or so have went ahead and forfeited an extra lap here in qualifying. Sebastian Bernier, by the way, up in the top 10 in qualifying. We usually see him race into the top 10, not start in it. So that's actually pretty interesting. We'll pay attention to that as well. Cody Blanton back in 11. Billy Octane up to 13th. The reason I'm naming these drivers is because all of these guys are still out on the track here at the end of qualifying. You still see a little bit of spray, Mike Jones, coming off the back of those tires. The track may be damp, but it is damp enough to throw up spray. Do you reckon now is not the right time for slicks if you can still see spray coming off the tires?
Still a hard discussion, man. I still think that slicks are going to be the call. I think that running the slicks with the pumped up tire pressures are probably going to be the right one, as we're going to watch Bernier come around for his last lap. He's a little bit up from this front splitter cam here down on the bottom of the track, and you can see, I mean, it just doesn't look that damp. I mean, look at that. It is just damp at best through some of these sections. And looking at this tightly, these guys jumping up on the curbs and not even thinking about it. I think slicks might be the option here. I'm really curious to see how these guys do. Really quickly, just before we wrap up qualifying, I'd like to mention our AM split battle. We did just see Libor Vodica, who is currently in 4th place in AM, did just make up about 6 tenths on his time, came up from 19th place. But Delau, who has been, kind of the dominating factor here, he's won one of 2 races and podiumed another one. I think he won Kyalami and podiumed last week, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it was the other way around. I'd have to verify that. Currently out in first place, however, Matt Lehman, who is in the 5th place overall position in the points, currently in second. And Mia Swenson, who we've talked about quite a bit, she had a really good run at Kyalami. Unfortunate incidents last week. In fourth place in the points. She is not doing as well as she generally can in the wet conditions here at Nurburgring. Though I understand she's had a couple races this week. She ran an 8 hours of Suzuka last week, if I'm not mistaken, or last night, if I'm not mistaken. So so she's pretty tired.
I respect these Iron men and women that come out, and it's just like last week, Mike. We're talking about a lot of the drivers came out and ran a 3-hour race, and then 2 hours later they ran the night out race too. I love the Iron men and women in RCI that come out and race. They don't care. Give them a race and a sign up page, and they will show up and show out. Sebastian Bernier coming across the line there, slots into 8th place on the starting grid, just in front of Delo, who's the leading AM car. Belisane ran a 2-minute 6:03, good enough for pole over Alistair Gillies by a 10th. Urquizy third. Lebrec will start in 4th place. Harry Conway rounds out the top 5. Silva, Mathis, Brunier, Delo, and Lehman are your top 10. Cody Bletton, Yilmaz, Octane, Nell, Vidica, Robles, Hopkins, Swinson, Gonzalez, Pereira, Niederjack, Fox, the other Gill, Bess, Pennington, Bugden, Winkler, Jelnick, and Ferreira are your cars in the race today. If you see a red placard on the number, that is an AM car. A white placard indicates pro. 2 different races going on here today. 3 if you count the overall race for the win, but they get points in their respective championships. And that is all that matters. And of course, as Mr. Mike Jones mentioned earlier, the Drivers' Championship. And as the session starts over again, you will notice for the first 30 minutes of the race, forecast is for, well, the wet stuff. And the track will start wet. It is a little bit cooler, 23 degrees C, still muggy out there, and no wind. Mike Jones, I'm going to ask you two very important questions because we've already talked about it. Number one, who wins the race?
People could still look at going wets, testing it out, and then planning a pit stop for tires. So I'm curious to see what people think. Whether people do, go straight for the wet, straight for the slicks. Unfortunately, there's no notification in game of us being able to tell what tires they're on. Wish that would be a thing at some point. Possibly it will be, but it'll be interesting to see if any of these guys do pit early for tires. We should be able to tell if they do come in and pit for tires because they'll have that extended pit stop. As for the winner, I'm sorry. I think Belisane is still in for a shout here. I think that Lebrec is going to struggle a little bit more this week, Jesse.
Wrong.
Hitting it hard already.
Absolutely
Go ahead.
Wrong, Mr. Mike Jones. The winner of today's race is going to be Alistair Gillies. He's going to overcome starting. Actually, he may have the whole shot in second place. You'll see that.
He might be in the better position. He's on the inside for turn 2.
I think if he can stay side by side with the AAA to Belisane, I think he might have the run to turn 1. And only being a 10th off the pace, that might be all he needs to maintain that position. And the reason I think he wins is his strategy is I think he's on I think he's on slicks right now. And I think he's going to ride out the start of this and be on the better tire at the end and not have to take a longer pit stop. I think a lot of these drivers are going to do that. I think they're going to be out here on slicks, assuming it's going to get drier based on the data that they have in the practice server and qualifying here. I think Alistair Gillies wins this race by virtue of having the better position at turn 1 and also being on the right tire for the end of the race.
Interesting. All right, so there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Jesse is backing Alistair Gillies this race, who did struggle a little bit against the Audis last week. Of course, we saw them about the first, 25 minutes or so. Urquizy and Belisane both just breathing down his neck, especially going into T1. Urquizy made a couple moves on him going into T1 at Hungaroring, was not able to make that pass done. Eventually, Urquizy lets Belisane on by, and Belisane tries to make the move and makes that happen, and then just kind of took off last week. We are seeing these cars fire up. Some of the jacks are dropping. We got about 15 seconds until these guys are going to go out for their formation lap, and we will get racing here in just a couple minutes, and we are going to find out 1 hour of Nurburgring today, 1 pit stop for these guys. Do they make the pit stop for tires? Do they take slicks? Do they take wets? Strategy abound here in this race. Here we go off the line. Belisane taking off. There goes Gillies. There's Urquizy. There's Lebrec. Conway taking off. Here comes Silva. Mathis in that green Porsche. Brunier, Delau, Lehman, Blanton, and Yimaz finishing out our first 6 rows. Here is Patrick Delau for Sim Bro Sport. Of course, the guy who's been kind of the strongest competitor in AM. So, Jesse, let's take a step back to AM for a second, and I'm going to ask you the same question. Can Delau kind of continue on his reasonably dominating performance? Not quite as dominating as Lebrec has had, but he's been doing extremely well through the first couple rounds. Can he keep that up for this race?
Yeah, he's got a fight on his hands in the AM class from Lehman. Lehman is going to absolutely bring it to him. This is as close as they've ever really been. And this championship is still all to play for in AM. It's all to play for the entire field. But in particular, I've been paying attention to these AM guys, and I don't know. This is one I'm not going to pick. I don't know. The way that this AM battle has went, and the way that it went last weekend, right down to the wire, to penalties, to all sorts of craziness, it's impossible to pick with these guys. I would try and give it to Delau based on his proven track record, but Lehman could just easily win this race. What do we know? Mia Swinson, all the way back in 18th place, starting, what is that, 5th or 6th in class now. Is this going to be a race where they don't finish on the podium? Are they going to fly through the field like they're known to do? That's the problem with AM. I can't call it because every week it's exciting, it's crazy. But yes, I'm going to pick Delau.
Okay, so I'm going to throw a wrench into your speech here.
Yes.
Libor Vodica passed up on last week. He was on vacation last week, could not make it for Hungaroring. In round 1, Vodica had an absolute stunning performance, just keeping it consistent all the way through the race, came home in P2. The Ferrari, very good in the rain. I know Libo is actually one of my endurance teammates. I know he's very level-headed in his racing. I think that Libo, as long as he doesn't get caught up in something, has a heck of a chance to at least get up and fight with these guys. I think out of Delau and Lehman, I think Lehman's going to take it. That Lexus is just going to do better in this damp, wet conditions than that Porsche will. But I think that Vodica very well might be within a shout of fighting for this win if he can stack it up, as these guys coming down the back straight here, approaching the chicane, stacking up 2 by 2, ready to come green here in about another 60 seconds. We're going to find out.
I love the calls, and you know what? We're as good at calling winners as we are predicting the weather, and that is to say that we are not very good. But here they come up to the final turn and onto the front straightaway. 29 car field strong, separated into Pro and Am. Bellassane, Gillies on the front row, Urquizy, Lebrec, row number 2, going to be firing off into turn 1. Keep your eyes on that Porsche in the inside lane as the green flag drops and they all go 2 by 2 by 2 down into the first corner. It's a fantastic start from Bellassane. Bellassane moves over to cover. Bellassane covering Gillies, Urquizy outside, fighting for second place. It's a clear first into the first turn, and they're 3 and 4 wide. There's touch. There's a touch. There's a half spin in the back, starting from about 5th on. The cars scatter, still 4 wide, going into turn 2 into the Mercedes-Benz arena, and they all seem to get away, and a couple of cars have spun immediately. We're going to have to wait for the timing board to update, but that was very fighty in the back of the field there.
It was. Those mid-pack guys came down in the middle of the field. Just that I think they just weren't quite expecting it to be as wet as it was. Doesn't like it was too bad. Little bit of a spin in the background, but overall, hopefully not too bad for them. Hopefully just spins. It looked like a couple little touches here, but I am going to make one quick correction, and that is that Gillies is the one who had the excellent start, Jesse. So you are currently being proven right. Gillies had that start cut down on Bellassane, got down into T1, and he is currently out in the lead as we're approaching the back half of this lap. They just passed about the halfway point down through that Dunlop curve, and Gillies is currently gapping these guys as we're crossing the sector lines here, and the timing board is updated. He's 0.8 up. The rest of the top 5 has kind of mostly stayed the same. Bellassane, Lebrec, Urquizy, Conway there in the top 5, but Gillies is just taking off right now, and here I am wondering, is it those tire differences? Is Gillies currently on the wets, and that is what has allowed him to take off on lap 1 here?
I don't know.
Track has already swapped to damp, though.
Yeah, I don't know. Everything that I said on that start is just reverse the names, and you got the basic gist of what happened there. My apologies, but I was just so excited. I forgot who was in what car there. called that backwards, but I counted about 6 cars involved in lap 1, turn 1 carnage there, Mike. And all of them have gotten going the right way, and they are going some damage on some of them, but most of the touching was very light, but a couple of cars did get spun. Gillies over a second out in front of Belisane using that second place. I don't want to play devil's advocate. That's always a lie, isn't it? I love to play devil's advocate.
You do.
Did Gillies throw qualifying on purpose?
So here's the thing. I think that we spoke about this at Hungaroring last week, right? We saw countless passes going into T1 that just did not go because you couldn't quite make the pass down in T1, and the T2 is where it matters. And that very well could be the same thing here at Nurburgring, right? T1, important. But if you can get the run coming out of turn 1 into the arena section, coming into turn 2 is really going to be where it matters. You've got 2 long left-handers there, and if you're on the left side of the track, which is the outside for turn 1, very well could get it done. Gillies got it done regardless, though. He cut off Belisane before they even reached the corner. He sprinted off that start-finish line as soon as that thing hit green and just muscled that Porsche all the way through. Surprisingly, something people don't realize is that Porsche is actually a very heavy car. It's not very big, but it is a very heavy car. It is, in fact, heavier than even the Aston Martin. Not this Aston Martin, though I believe it still is, but even the Aston V8, that is a pretty chunky car, let's say. That Porsche is very capable of muscling people out of the way. But this is Blanton here back in P10. His teammate Billy Octane behind him in that V12. There's a battle up in front of them there. That's Mathis, Brunier, and Yilmaz up in front, and he wants to get involved in this as well. These guys are side by side going through the chicane here. Brunier on the outside for the second part of that chicane. He's got to kind of tap the brakes there, make sure no contact happens. Good on them to kind of avoid any of that contact. Brunier is going to go wide there a little bit. I think he got on the throttle a little too much, and that's going to allow Blanton to get on the inside, and that's just going to power
he's going to get
through.
Passed by a bunch of people. Look at him.
He very well might. Here it is, though. This is what we were just talking about. Brunier has the inside for turn 1, but will that matter? He's having to slow down too much, and it won't. There goes Octane. Octane through it, but Octane's still on the inside, though, and this is where it's going to matter. 2 turns here, long left-handers. Can Sebastian get the run coming out of turn 3? I don't think he can, because there's another car. That is Mathis underneath him now, too. Octane does have the pass done. Octane is through. Mathis now on the outside as they exit the arena section here, back out onto the straight. Mathis catches a little bit of the grass. Brunier is still side by side as they're going to start approaching the Ford curve down here. And little bit of a touch there. Little bit of a touch. Mathis touches his back end. Squirrely just a little bit, but he's going to kind of slow down. Delau as well coming through. Look at this, is ridiculous, Jesse. All the way through here, there's like 6 cars all fighting. I think they've never mind. They're still not done. Here comes Lehman. Lehman is now on the inside of Mathis there. Delau has made it through. Lehman on the inside. Little bit of a touch there between Lehman and Mathis. I apologize, but Lehman is still got the outside here. Looks like he's going to get the pass done, but that is the Audi of Robles kind of on the back end of Mathis. They're just all over each other, fighting here now side by side with Mathis and the who is that? The Mathis
That's
and
Nell.
Nell with the V12, and the Lexus behind them, and he goes wide as well. Robles wide. Oh man, these damp conditions are just throwing these guys everywhere, and this is just excellent fighting. No accidents happening, though, and that's really what matters. This order just got shaken up.
I'm going to tell you something, Mike. Nerjak wants by these guys as well. He's seeing this entire thing. Robles in front of Nerjak, and Hopkins now back into the fray here as well. Hopkins is now... We got a car coming into pit road immediately here.
That's Nerjak, I think.
That is.
Yeah, Nerjak coming in for the early pit stop. Interesting.
I like it.
I'm curious to see if he's switching tires here. I'm going to keep an eye on him, see if he switches tires, because this is going to be the interesting thing. Does he just get out of the traffic, or is he going for the tire stop? As we're watching Silva and the 2 V12s diving down into turn 1 here. Silva does look like he's got the pass done. However, it doesn't matter because they're on the inside for it. There comes Blanton on by him. Oh, what a touch happened! Billy Octane taps the back of Silva there. Unfortunate for him. I can't tell if Silva cut down a little bit or if Octane just slid, but that is going to be Silva off, losing some positions Octane is going to get the pass done, and those V12s are moving up in the order.
Oh my goodness, that is not what Silva wanted. That is not what you wanted to see. And Mr. Octane using his car's push to pass feature, it's super effective. But ladies and gentlemen, we go back to the front of the field. Alistair Gillies, who had that lightning start, was able to come down and cover Belisane into turn 1 and get away to the tune of 1.2 seconds. Is now being caught. That lead has been cut in half. Belisane is towing an entire line of cars. Lebrec, Urquizy, Conway, Yilmaz, or actually not Yilmaz, Conway, Urquizy, and Lebrec all in tow with Belisane, all in a line, looking to get either by him or Gillies, one of the two. And these freight train of cars are all of your leaders, top 5. These second through fourth, all pictured in the same image, just shows you how close they are. And it's big mention, big touch, Lebrec and Belisane, or no, excuse me, Lebrec and Urquizy. Urquizy, they're both in trouble now. That was major contact, jumping the curb, and that is going to have major championship implications at the other end of this one. Incredible stuff. And by the way, Yilmaz, your leading AM driver in 5th overall right now.
Oh, man. So Ismail didn't make out too bad from that. It's just a question of, did Urquizy really try to dive for it or not there? And that was not good from Urquizy. Currently back down in 12th position because these guys are so crowded here at the top. That was about a 7-position loss for him, if not farther back through there. Ismail and Conway, though, have had to force themselves back off of Belisane. Belisane now has about a 1.5-second gap. But Conway and Lebrec are going to try and make that up. Urquizy now out of the picture of this, what used to be a lap ago, 4 cars nose to tail. Urquizy's going to have a lot of ground to make up. But Ismail here, though, I'm still thinking this guy, he's doing really well for this track being damp. I mean, these Lambos do not do well whenever this cloud even looks like it has moisture in it. And so for him to even be up in 3rd right now, I think is an excellent showing by him. It's just a question of how much can he hold off Conway here, because Conway's looking real quick in that Audi today, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, Conway does look very fighty. I like the style. I never purple and gray. I love that livery. A little bit of orange. I would have never thought purple and gray. I probably one of my favorites. If I'm picking favorites, probably one of my favorites, but doing really well in 4th place. And here we are 10 minutes into this race, and half the field are already mad at each other, but I'm not sure what we expected. I don't know, Mr. Mike Jones, how Yilmaz got all the way up to 5th, and Delau is back, and Lehman are back down in 9th and 10th right now. They're the ones pictured here. This is the fight for 2nd place in AM and for 9th place overall. But I'm not sure how that happened, but Yilmaz is shot out of a cannon. He's all the way up to 5th place, and he's looking for more.
He really has. I mean, we know that Porsche is good here at Nurburgring, but of course in the damp it suffers a little bit here. But, of course, Delau is also in a Porsche, and we know he's a very quick driver. He has just kind of had that... he had, like we talked earlier, he's not quite as dominating as Lebrec has been in the Pro Split, but has been, overall pretty dominating so far in the AM split. But Lehman here, he's looking very steady in this Lexus as well. Of course, as soon as you get that water on the track, generally these front engine cars seem to like that a little bit more. But this Lexus of Lehman here is hard on the brakes, as we're watching from this front splitter cam provided to us by our broadcaster Stewie today. And we're really seeing just how close he's able to get back onto this Porsche. I think that this Lexus is being able to brake better than the Porsches in this occasion, and it's just going to be all about waiting for Delau to make a mistake. He's got about 49 minutes for that to make happen, but will Delau make a big enough mistake before Lehman can get past him? I also just want to touch on the gentleman who pit earlier, by the way, that we were speaking about. Narrett Jack did make that pit earlier, did not take tires. I think he just took himself out of the equation. He just came in for a quick stop and go, was like, you know what? I'm in the middle of a pack here.
Yep.
Let's just make the undercut.
Well, Mike, considering what happened, what happened after that, probably a smart decision.
I think so too, because obviously we saw just a lot of crowded going on, right? Just a lot of crowded stuff going on there through the last couple laps. We do have a couple more people in the pit lane right now as well. David Gill currently in the pit. He is currently making his way out of the pit lane, I believe. And of course, Libo Vordica, who I talked about earlier, he made the undercut as well. Currently back in 28th position. He was the one that qualified up in about 5th place overall in AM. So curious to see if the undercut's going to work here for him, because this is all about the strategy here, and this is what we're going to talk about probably for the next 48 minutes, is how the pit strategy is going to work here at the Nurburgring. With these guys being so stacked up all throughout the field, sometimes that early pit will really pay off.
Oh my goodness. And here's Jordy Best. Jordy Best trying to get around Pereira right now. This is a fight back in the AM field, but these guys incredibly, look at the Bentley. You don't see many Bentleys in this championship, but there you have one. That's Jelinek right there in this fight. He is the lone pro driver in a sea of AM, and these AM guys are going at one another, and he is in the middle, and he just doesn't want to be collected as he's going to try and go down the inside, nearly scraping the Porsche wall on the front straightaway, gets that pass done, the big flying bee flying by, but then again, here they come back on the inside, and that Porsche can't quite get it done. Is the pass done yet? I don't know, and it seems to be finally completed. That turn started in the chicane on the previous lap and was finally completed in the Mercedes-Benz arena. And that's pretty much what you expect around here. You expect to have to fight for your position. It's not just getting them on one corner. You have to cover yourself on 3 to 4 to make sure the pass sticks.
Especially here in the damp with these guys sliding around like they are. You know, I mean, these guys have been doing a pretty good job keeping their cars under control. Currently watching on the back of Best's cars. He goes wide, and that's going to be Fox on by him. Jordy Best, who is teammates with Patrick Delau, who we were talking about earlier, of course, in the 911 Cimbro Sport Porsche. Just not having the best race here for him in this 100 Porsche. And that is going to lose him another position down to 23rd overall, which is, I believe, back to 7th in AM, if I am doing my math correctly. 8th place, actually, it looks like. So yeah, Jordy Best losing out on another position there. However, we're going to switch over back to Billy Octane, who is up to 6 positions, right behind his teammate Blanton in 5th. Still a couple seconds gap there, but this is Octane, Yilmaz, and Brunier fighting for 6th position here. And this is Yilmaz, of course, that middle guy there in the Porsche is our AM class leader, and he is just having a heck of a showing today here for the AM class. Yilmaz, of course, finishing in let's see, where did he finish? He was 8th at Kyalami, and I think he missed last week's race. In fact, Yilmaz didn't he? At Hungaroring?
I don't
remember seeing him.
Think so.
No, he won. He won AM class race last week. That's right. Yeah. So you know what? He did have that good race last week as well. So this is maybe this is Yilmaz just kind of catching up. He just didn't have a good first race, and now he's out here, you know, throwing down the gauntlet for Delau.
Mike, look at the left side of Yilmaz's car. That's got damage.
It does. I wonder if he was one of the ones that got caught up earlier in the race. It doesn't seem to be affecting him too much. I mean, looking at his lap times, his last lap was a 2:04.6, which is not too bad considering most of these guys are running, you know, around the 2:03, 2:04 mark. Our leader, Gillies, is running 2:02 pretty consistently. But, you know, he's one of the couple that are him, Bellasan, and Conway. That's an Audi off. Is that Urquizy again? That might be Urquizy off there. Or is that Bellasan? That's the question. We're going to have to find out here.
No, that is not Bellasan. That was Urquizy. Urquizy just having a day that started off with a lot of promise. Him and his teammate of H3 Racing being near the front of the field in command. Urquizy, it has come completely undone. A second incident now where he has spun in the Dunlop hairpin, and he is all the way down in 17th place. It is, in every facet of the word, a recovery drive for Mr. Urquizy today. It has not been great. And now that is, I believe that is the Audi of, is that Robles' Audi that was off there just a second ago?
I think it was, yeah. I think Robles, because we're currently seeing him, he hasn't crossed the sector line yet, so he was up in 12th. He may have very well fallen off as well, as we're currently watching Urquizy in the back of Hopkins here. But yeah, these guys just struggling a little bit here in the damp, whether it's because they're getting into incidents or whether it's because they are, you know, struggling with each other is the question, or just the track is the question. But Urquizy, like you said, he's going to have a recovery drive, and I don't think it was Robles that was
That
off.
was Nerajak.
Oh, Nerajak. Oh yeah, it was. There he is. He's back to 25th now again.
Yeah, an incident. He was our first pitter.
Audis are struggling.
Yeah, exactly. That is. I hear that all the time from Audi drivers. Was that a bit of a touch? Oh, there's a car in the middle of the road.
That was Robles. That was Robles.
That was Robles. As if Nostradamus effect was a thing. Robles eventually does. Are they struggling with traffic? Are they struggling with the track? Or I mean, it's only damp, but how much does that actually affect you in this case?
So Robles, I'm looking back at the replay myself right now. Robles did just lose it. He was on his own. He came around. He's coming around the arena and just lost it coming off. And it looks like that may have been Gil off earlier, by the way. Yes. One of our stewards we're not actively stewarding this race. One of our stewards just happened to be watching the race. So I think that was Gil in the Audi off earlier. He's standing
behind us, pointing furiously at a monitor. By the way,
no, it was him. No, it was him. But Robles just lost it on his own, unfortunately. So yeah, these Audis, I think that they're struggling with grip. I'm still really curious to hear the feedback from the drivers after the race. I want to know who's on slicks and who's on wets right now. That's what I really want to know.
I would love to know that as well. And to your point, Mike, one of our most successful drivers, Wolf Matushka, he drives an Audi as his main, and he always, from day one when I met that guy, when I started having interviews with him, his number one complaint is that if it rains, the Audi is useless. And he's not what you would call a wet weather specialist, Wolf Matushka, but if you saw, folks, what he's capable of doing with that Audi in the dry, you would be forced to agree that, yes, it's an Audi problem, because I think they're a bit too unpredictable. Let's say it nicely. I think the Audi's a little bit too unpredictable. Do you know what about that, though?
Jesse.
Harry Conway all the way up to second, and Bellasane has fallen back to fourth. So an Audi falls to an Audi. Might Bellasane have had a bit of Audi mischief, as we are discussing, and that will promote Conway. Conway up to second right now. Earlier, we saw that Gillies and Bellasane were really close together, and I suspect that Gillies must have had a moment, because immediately following that in a big takedown, Yilmaz taken out by Lehman. Lehman has absolutely dumped Yilmaz into the corner, and he is going to wait, because that was absolutely accidental, and wow, what a takedown.
Wow, that was just bad. I mean, we're still looking at these damp conditions. Just that unpredictability of that little bit of dampness. You hit a little bit of a moisture puddle there, and your brakes just don't work the same that they were last lap. And if you brake in a slightly different position, especially with these AM drivers, it very well can happen that these guys just go off like that. And Lehman, doing the right thing, doing the sportsman-like, thing, and letting him back by, that is going to lose Yilmaz quite a bit of time, though. Of course, really far down below here. But here's Mathis. He's going to lose it right across the track. He gets it stopped, but no traffic coming yet. He's able to get back on the track, but there's Mathis going to drop a couple more positions. I believe that it's going to demote him down to 12th, if I'm not mistaken, by the time that is all said and done. And that is, again, just, even farther. He's down to 16th or 15th now almost. So yeah, Mathis just again, these Audis and these Porsches just do not hold traction that well in general, more or less in the damp here. And we are seeing these guys struggle a little bit, and that is just unfortunate for them. However, the top drivers, where we would expect to see that. And Mathis off a little bit here again. I think maybe his tires got a little dirty from the grass. Mathis going to go ahead and spin out there. Maybe he's got some flat spots on his tires. That's Swenson
that just came past
him. Yeah, it is. They're coming out of this last corner. The Bentley does get around him, but Mathis, he may need to come in and pit and get rid of those tires, as we're seeing Pennington in the background there come into the pit lane. But yeah, Mathis again, and we're sitting here talking. Really curious to see, are these guys running slicks or wets, and that's what's causing them trouble, because we are seeing puddles on the track here occasionally. As you just saw them come out of the arena, there is a lot of moisture on the right side of the track there, and coming out of the arena, and you can see moisture on the non-racing line here. And if these guys are on slicks and they touch that wet, it will throw them. As this is back in Urquizy, of course, currently up to 13th, but you can see he's struggling coming out of corners. It's just he's just very easy on the throttle. You can really tell. And of course, that's Lehman behind him in the Lexus, who should have more traction coming out of the corners. And then another, that's Hopkins behind him, with Lehman behind Hopkins in the two Lexi. And I'm curious to see if these guys kind of hold their own against Urquizy here. Of course, Urquizy, one of the fastest drivers on the track, and these Lexus, not quite as fast as drivers, but they're able to keep up with him just for pure traction. I think it might be time for Urquizy to pit and maybe change tires to whichever one he's not using.
Well, as if you needed more evidence, as me and Mike Jones were talking about the Audi being unpredictable in the wet, the exact time that we were having that conversation, we just had it confirmed that Bellasane, who was P2 at the time, in an Audi, lost it exiting turn 1, and all by himself in his Audi. As, oh my goodness, Lexus going absolutely Dukes of Hazzard style over the top.
Yeah, that was Hopkins that went off over the grass there. He just misjudged his braking point there. Luckily able to kind of keep it steady. They did lose a bunch of time there, though. He held up Lehman a bit there as well, so that's going to lose them a couple seconds onto Hopkins, or onto Urquizy rather. But these guys are going to be side by side coming into turn 1 now. Lehman's going to have the outside line. That's Hopkins on the inside. It's just a question of, can Lehman cut back across and keep the inside for turn 2. So far, he is not level with him. Hopkins should still have the line, and he will. So Hopkins going to hold on to P14 for the moment. Of course, that's overall.
Oh, he's going to lose it here. He's losing it.
He lost it, but Lehman doing a good job just dodging him. Hopkins currently stopped on the track, trying to get that car fired back up, reversing back out.
Mike,
luckily,
those
no
curbs are wet.
But oh man!
I know I'm stating the obvious, Mike, but those curbs are wet, and they're trying to hit those curbs like it's a dry track, and it's just sending them around.
This is some of the most interesting weather I think we have seen racing in a while.
And it's not even raining that hard.
It's on that line though, right? It's on that line of, it's just damp enough that if you're running slicks, it's going to be wet, or you run offline a little bit, it's going to be too wet and throw you. And it's really interesting to watch these guys. And of course, here is the fight that I think we're going to watch for a while, because this is Blanton and Octane still 5th and 6th position. They've now caught up to Bellasane, who is struggling to keep traction. And these Astons seem to be doing really well keeping consistent, because these Astons, you just can't throw that thing. It don't matter, what happens with those things. They can take the curbs and still just run over them, damp or not. And we're seeing that as actually Billy Octane going to dive into the pit here, get out of that fight. So here's Octane coming into the pits. Blanton is going to stay out, start chasing down the end of Bellasane here, as we're going to listen to this V12 catch up to Bellasane down this front straight here. Hard on the brakes there. That V12 will be screaming down the front straight. He just about taps Bellasane in the back end as they approach the arena here, but not quite able to catch up all the way yet. That Audi still has quite a bit of straight line speed, even if he is struggling to get grip through the corners. But yes, Jesse, what are we seeing?
Harry Conway has halved the lead to Gillies in the past lap and a half. So I wonder if Gillies has had yet another minor slip up, or if Conway has just found the pace in that Audi one way or another. Oh no, it's halved again, Mike. I don't know if Gillies is having some sort of issue right now, but it halved in half a lap again. So last lap, he took about a second and a half out of it. This lap, he's in the first sector. He took about 0.5, half a second there about out of the lead. So I don't know if that Porsche is now struggling and Harry Conway's found something in his Audi, but either way, these two are incredibly close now. I'm just going to touch very quickly on Conway's pit. That was brilliant. That was excellently timed. He got right to the back of those guys. Or excuse me, Octane, excuse me. Octane, he got right to the back of the two he was fighting, Bellasane and Blanton, and pitted. Oh, yeah.
Jesse, Yimas. Hang on. Well, before we talk about Yimaz, this is Conway going into the final corner. They're diving under Gillies for the lead, and we're going to have a new leader for the first time this race. That is Conway taking across P1. But I apologize for interrupting, Jesse. What I wanted to point out was Yimaz made his pit stop, and he got an SG30. I think that he sped in the pit lane, as that is probably the only time he would have got that, and he may have just retired his car, as I do not see him out on the track anymore.
No.
Unfortunate for him, man. He was having an excellent run until that last few laps, and then just started struggling. Oh man, but that's racing for you. We have seen these guys get a couple stop and go 30 penalties. Conway's off. The Audi's up again. Here we're gonna watch a replay of this. Conway out on his own. Here is we jumped back quite a bit actually, so we're gonna watch this whole lap happen again. At this point, we're going to see them come through the chicane here. There's Gillies off. So
he
here's
just
the
lets
pass.
him go. Gillies just literally lets him go. Realizes he can't fight him. No need to block him, and lets him go through. Harry Conway goes
Conway
to
Gillies,
the lead of the race over Alistair Gillies. Coming down into turn one. This is sort of where we left off. There's another car off in front of these two that we did not previously see. Does this play a factor? It doesn't look like it. So what happens here coming into the arena? Does he grab a curb and spin out? Let's see. He's under control. And
here it is right here. He hits that damp. See?
And
it's that little bit of damp. Yep. Just that little bit of damp,
and
man.
There's Gillies around the outside. Gets away.
Got past as well.
That's right. Ishmael Lebrec up to second place. Harry Conway third. Gillies assumes the lead again by 2.2 seconds. Brilliant driving by Alistair Gillies today. He has been under fire, but he's remained calm, cool, and collected. And here we go back all the way to Silva and Nell, who are currently in a battle amongst themselves. And they have, of course, Delau, the top-ranking AM car, somewhere up the road in front of them as pit stops continue to occur.
Pit stops. I don't know if you noticed, but Billy Octane has dropped down pretty far. I went back and checked. He was in his pit box for a while. I am almost positive that Octane decided to take tires. His teammate Blanton, however, is about 25 seconds up the road.
It's going to be a slow!
Silva!
He catches it! He catches it.
I don't think it's enough, though, because that is going to be... and he's off again and into the wall!
Hard crash! Into the inside or outside barrier on the front straight. I don't think I've ever seen a car hit that barrier.
Oh, man, these wet conditions are just throwing these guys for a loop. Silva hard into the wall. That promotes Nell to 7th. It's just a question of how much damage did Silva get. We can't quite see his front end from here, but I got to imagine he's going to be hard damaged at that point. He's going to start losing some pace. 30 minutes left in this race. We're almost 10 seconds from the halfway mark. And, Jesse, this feels like this has been going on for 3 hours.
I feel like I've been in a prize fight with Mike Tyson the way this race has gone so far, and I'm sure these guys can agree. Mike, I believe your observation is spot on, honestly. This track is damp. It has patches and puddles all over.
Gillies and Conway pit.
Like a real track would. And these guys are finding them in the worst. Anytime they have to go offline or they modify their line, they are finding these patches and it's catching them unaware. It just is. That's the simple fact of it. Sebastian Brunier, who has had a typical Brunier day, incredibly quiet and successful, finds him third on the road at the moment. And he is currently right up behind Bellassane. And if you're Brunier, you got to be thinking, wasn't Bellassane the pole sitter for this race? So at this point, Brunier knows that he's incredibly close to the lead of this field.
Yeah, he's pretty close. Of course, Bellassane has had those problems. He's probably in about overall 3rd or 4th position. Interestingly, Gillies and Conway, when they pit, it looks like they took tires as well. Blanton, the only one I don't think that took tires, he went for the stop and go. Really curious to see how this turns out because, of course, Blanton is now about 12 or so seconds ahead in what would theoretically be P1 as we're going to see this fight go down. Bellassane cutting down on Brunier there, saying, no, sir, you will not get the inside for turn 1. Brunier is probably going to dive out to the outside, but just not quite enough room. Bellassane actually decides, you know what, I don't need to block you. You're not close enough to me. It's just a question of can he keep the grip through the arena here. This is where the Audis have been losing grip. here it comes right here. This end of this arena here, they've been struggling
Oh,
so
look at him,
badly.
look
You
at
can
him.
see him. Oh, there's a car off. There's a car off in front. That's the Honda again, the same Honda that was off earlier. Ferreira is off again, spun himself. That Honda again, one of those cars not good in the wet. Bellasane doing a good job keeping himself settled this time. He got squirrely a little bit, but overall not too bad. And Brunier is going to have to sit back again. Currently in overall P2 as Lebrec is in the pit as well.
Oh, that Audi just of Bellasane just looks absolutely evil going into some of these corners. He is trying his hardest to put the power down, and that Audi is resisting. As Mike Jones said, Lebrec in pit road, Silva also in pit road. All of your leaders have pitted. This is the lead, or the race, I should say, for the de facto lead of the race. Of course, these drivers still have to pit. DeLoe in third place, first in AM still has to pit, and Nell in fourth as well, as noted by the Amber #1 placard. But here it is. It's going to be a race for the lead of the race nonetheless, as that Honda goes
off.
He's getting off on all sorts of accounts, as Ferreira is just having a heck of a day, and that is his third incident in as many
Look at
laps.
how close this is. Brunier is just I mean I don't think there was breathing room between those two for a moment.
Look at how much that Aston Martin eats up on that Audi on these wet corners. You can tell that Audi is struggling, and that Aston Martin does not care. Look at
it! Look at it!
Back of him in the chicane, and Bellasane has decided, I have had enough of this party. I am going to pit road, hopefully for some brand new tires. Pay attention to that, Mike. I'd like to know if he changes tires. At any rate, Sebastian Brunier has driven up from 8th or 9th place on the grid and now is the leader of the race. And of course, he still has to pit. As we go back deeper into the fields, and it's just been a crazy race. And if I don't get this in now, I'm never going to get this in. Hello, everybody out there watching. We hope that you're enjoying this broadcast of RCI TV here on YouTube, and we'd like to invite you to go ahead and subscribe and like if you are enjoying what you're seeing here today. Do you know we host races most days of the week, including the weekends, and we invite you to be a part of our family and join us for those races. We would absolutely love to have you, and thank you for watching here at RCI TV. Tell your friends about us. We love racing. We just and how could you not with a race like we're having today? It's absolutely
insane.
I love a race that has chaos in it. There, I said it. I like races that are paced out properly and methodical. Those are fine. Crazy races though that keep you guessing. Those are the ones you remember though.
This is definitely keeping us guessing. I mean, there is nothing that we have predicted about this race has went so far. The only thing that is predictable is that Ismail Lebrec is doing pretty well. that is pretty much about it. The rest of these guys have struggled all day long. Lebrec does look like he took tires when he went into the pits, as he's down in provisional 11th place. I did watch Bellasane. He did not take tires, and that is why he's only a few seconds off the lead. Blanton still holding the overall lead, but this is 5th and 6th place here. The Bentley and the Porsche struggling to find grip going into the Dunlop curve. The Bentley, though, of course, getting that traction down. Gilly's flashing the lights. He's not happy about it. Little bit of a touch that did happen there. However, that Bentley is just, he is flying compared to this Porsche at the moment. There's that Honda Ferreira that kind of blocked the Bentley. Oh my God, and they're going for it again. Here's the Bentley of Jelinek going around the Honda. He looked like he slingshotted around that thing. Still holding to the inside. Little bit of a touch here. Pushes Gilly off track just a little bit. That was not cool. Oh, I don't blame him for that one. That was a little bit of a rough pass from Jelinek there, but he is the faster car. Oh, he should be. If I was Gillies, I'd be fuming at this point, but that's just a situation of, you know what, bud, you're a little faster than me, whatever, go. You still got a pit. Either way, I'm still ahead of you. 25 minutes left in this race. Jelinek's gonna lose that position at some point as long as Gillies can hold it down. And Gillies, though, even though this is back in currently 6th place, Jesse, this is still the podium position at the moment, and he is not too far down the road from Bellasane, and there is Bellasane right there, if I'm not mistaken. And unless that's Urquizy, that's a lap down. But Bellasane, you know, he's struggling. He did not take tires in his pit stop. He went for the quick pit. Gonna see if that loses him, as Gillies is just all over the back of this Bentley through sector 1 here. Jelinek did go wide, but I don't think he's going to get it in this corner.
If I was Gillies, I would be very mindful of this situation. Gillies, the leader of the race, he has everything to lose here. Jelinek has nothing to lose here, really. So I would not play with them this hard, but he is going to be able to make the pass coming down into the Dunlop area. So he was able to get that pass done. Now I'm going to be interested to see if he's able to stay in front of him, and maybe the Bentley just had him on that lap or so as the tires may be coming back up to temperature or something like that. But these pictures here, again, provided by Stewie, doing a great job showing us the race as it is unfolding. And you can still see from these camera angles, all these curves, the track edges, all that stuff is completely soaked still. So anytime you have to venture offline or off course, you are putting yourself in danger. But Gillies was able to weather that storm, and look right behind him. Yeah, this fight is going to reignite. It's now Conway's turn to get around Jelinek, and that should be, we suspect, unless our math is wrong, that should still be the fight for first and second as they come back through.
This is third place.
They're going to continue to touch each other, and he's going to be forced wide. Jelinek is going to go wide, and he's going to have to do that to avoid contact.
Look at Bellasane, too. Bellasane lost it in front as well. Gillies made through him as well. Gee, Bellasane is just not having the good race here. Or is that Urquiza? Can we jump to that Audi up there, Stewie, real quick?
That is
Bellasane, yeah.
You're correct.
Oh, just Bellasane, I almost think that I wonder if he's regretting not taking tires. He's going to keep dropping positions here. Octane's catching up to them as well. Of course, Octane is one of the ones who did take tires. So that's Conway promoted up to what would be overall fourth position here, almost. Oh, there it is right there. Bellasane losing the traction. Conway just dancing around him. So that is Conway in fourth position. Brunier still in first. Brunier and Blanton first and second place after the pit stops. Nell in overall first, still has to make his pit stop. But I'm going to be honest here. I think Brunier is in the position at the moment. I think he's got it to lose.
Mike.
Don't ask, Jesse. I don't have an answer for you.
No, I was just going to say, I've been doing some math.
Oh, okay. I was going to say if you were going to ask me who's going to win, because I don't know. What math have we been doing today, Jesse?
Based on the fact that Blanton.
Oh, Brunier. I'm sorry. Brunier's board hadn't updated yet.
Yes. Based on the fact that Blanton's out front right now, and based on some figures of the last couple of laps between Blanton and Gillies, I have deduced that at the current pace, Gillies. Why are you laughing? I didn't even tell you what's going to happen yet.
Because I know exactly what you're going to say, Jesse.
I have deduced that Gillies will catch Mr. Blanton with about 5 minutes to go. Oh, no, he won't! Oh, Bellasane! Hard crash into the wall coming out of the
replay of that one. Let's get a replay of that one, Stewie, if we can. We'll jump back and let's see what happened here. Was there a touch there?
That was not out of a
little
hairpin.
Loose.
That was the Schumacher S's, and we're out of the Schumacher S's. We're coming down into the short chute. What happens here? Was that on the back straight?
I think it was. I think he may have caught the inside curb. Let's see what happens here. So he touches
he's a little
the curb
loose.
slightly.
He grabbed the outside curb and just bam, straight into the inside wall of the track on the back straight here at Nurburgring. And that is going to be pretty much day done for Bellasane, who has crumpled the front of that car. He doesn't come into pit. He must think he can stay out. But I don't know if that's advisable. He is going to start stacking up the field. That is Delau, the AM leader, order restored in AM, by the way. Delau is looking to get around him. I wonder if Delau knows that Belhassain has had a massive incident. I wonder if he had seen that.
I would assume he would have. He would have noticed that Bellasane just dropped back quite a bit, and that is a lap car behind him. That is Pennington in the 34 McLaren that is trailing that pack. So this is not for position behind. However, Brunier, who I mistakenly called him P1 earlier, still hadn't updated on the timing board there. That's him down on the bottom right of your screen very briefly there. He's catching up to this pack. Bellasane might cost Delau enough time here for Brunier to catch up, possibly. However, Delau has quite a bit of space here between him and P2 in AM class, who is Hopkins, and Hopkins still hasn't even pit yet. So that is Lehman. Delau is just like, he is sprinted away with this AM class with all the other issues that have gone on with the rest of the AM class. He's got a little damage on his car as well. You can see his right front fenders. And there's the McLaren. There's the McLaren. Pennington spinning off there, able to keep it off the track. And these guys are just all over the place here. Delau a little bit of drifting through the corner there as
Look
well.
How messed up Delau's front of his car is. He's been into the back of somebody. And by the way, Blanton has either been incredibly slow or has had a mistake, because Alistair Gillies, the man who's led the majority of this race, has caught them, and right behind him, Conway has caught Gillies. It is going to be a three-way battle for the lead of this race. Of course, Nell is overall leader, but he still has to pit at some point in the 17.5 minutes left to go, and it isn't going to be a big fight. It is not going to be a big challenge. Alistair Gillies is going to go around the outside of Mercedes-Benz Arena and make the pass. Can Conway get to the inside on the exit of Mercedes-Benz? Absolute full cinder bud into the arena and gets it done. And that is going to give Gillies and Conway the clean room. And the story now becomes, can Mr. Gillies run away from Conway? Because he certainly couldn't earlier.
I don't think so. If you look at the last lap times, Conway put down a 2:02.1, which was almost his fastest lap in the race. Gillies, the last lap, 2:03.285. That is almost a full, or over a full second, rather, slower than Conway put down. Their fastest laps are around the same. Very low twos, 2:0 and 2:1 for both of these drivers. However, I don't think that Gillies, unless Conway makes the mistakes that the rest of these Audis have been making, I don't think Gillies can hold him off for another 17
I'm going to be
minutes.
honest. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm confused how Harry Conway's Audi is immune to literally. We had, folks, a top 10 full of Audis at green flag here today. There are 2 left in it, and one of them has been involved in a incredibly massive frontal impact a few moments ago in Bellassane. So we had about 4 or 5 Audis up here, and now we have one that isn't damaged, and it's challenging for the lead. So we either have to accept that Conway is a Terminator, or maybe his car's set up completely differently.
Or tires. Are all the rest of the guys running slicks and Kanye's running wets?
Or we can peel off that badge and see a Lamborghini badge. But this battle is absolutely continuing. This is Sebastian Brunier. This is AM versus Pro, but this is 4th position. This is for 7th place. Brunier trying to make his way back up through the field, challenging Delau for 7th position. This is the AM leader up front here in the Porsche. Of course, they are racing each other. There's no blue flags or anything like that. This is a straight-up fight. Got incredibly close to one another there, as Brunier will have to reset and try again. And with 15 minutes to go, Mr. Mike Jones, I'm going to ask you, who wins?
I still think Conway. I think that Conway is going to outpace Gillies, even though he struggled a little bit on the last lap. I think Conway is going to outpace Gillies. The question is, I think that the big fight of the race is going to be for P3. Our spotter behind us here was pointing out to us a moment ago while we were watching all this action happen that Lebrec actually dove to the inside of Octane a couple laps ago through turn 1, came past. Lebrec back up into 4th place. He's not too far behind Blanton. Blanton obviously starting to show wear here. He was a 2:06.5, which is 4 seconds slower than Lebrec ran last lap. I think the fight of the end of the race here is going to go down to Lebrec and Blanton possibly. And where will Blanton end up? Because I don't know if he's even going to be able to stay ahead of Billy Octane at the moment with his current pace. Blanton is struggling. I think Blanton's going to lose out of that podium position. I think it's going to be Conway, Gillies, Lebrec, Octane, Conway at the finish.
If that... I think you meant Octane there at the end. No,
I meant Conway at the finish. I think Octane's going to beat Blanton. Oh no, Conway. Yeah, I
No,
meant
I
Octane.
see what you mean. I
Yeah.
see what you mean. I got you. Folks, our brains are fried. The
Yep.
racing that we've seen here, our brains are absolutely mashed potatoes.
Lebret, this is Lebret going off. Allegedly, he lost it coming out of the S's, as we understand, and this is now him behind Octane. So Lebret actually, he finally made his first big mistake of the race, and that just cost him a few seconds. So you know what, Jesse, I don't ask me anymore. Ask me in about 15 minutes.
We this entire race, and this is peeking behind the curtain. You guys can't see this, but we have literally had an individual, a member of our steward team, as Mike Jones said, who's literally been yanking on our shoulders the entire time, pointing out. Think about the amount of incidents that we've shown you. There's about 500,000 of them that were happening at the same time. We weren't able to show you because they just happened at the same time of other incidents. But holy cow, this race has been one to forget for a lot of drivers. We are 12 and a half minutes away from Alistair Gillies being one to remember, but he's got one major hurdle to overcome, and that is second place Harry Conway, as we watch Lebret getting all over Billy Octane here for fourth place, getting as much of the cherry as he can possibly get. As we'll now go on board with Octane. Octane's going wide. Lebret going to the inside to the hairpin. There's going to be side-by-side contact, and it's going to upset Octane. Octane's going to drop down to fifth. Lebret through the Michael Schumacher S's is going to take back that position after the incident.
Yeah, so there he goes, just 1-2 punch and gets it back over. Ishmael's just muscling his way back through there. So, you know, good on him to get on that position back. Hopefully he won't lose it again. If he can't, I'm sure that he's going to be fine.
Lebret's going for it.
Not quite enough that lap, but this is going to be interesting. He's coming down into the chicane section here, and this is where I think that the V12 is going to shine through this chicane. If he can get a good run out of the chicane, he should be safe. But Lebret, look at that Lambo. Is this track wet, Jesse? I couldn't tell watching Lebret come around this track really close to the back end there. I think he had to back off just a little bit, but here it is. It's going to be a drag race down the front straight here. Lebret does have a little bit of a run. It's just a question of who's harder on the brakes. That V12 is not that good on the brakes. Pulling out, going to the inside, hard on the brakes. Can he keep it down below? Cresses the apex just perfectly. Look at that from Lebret, and there's Octane sliding past as well. Potentially here now side by side with his teammate.
Octane.
Plenty of room. Plenty of room. Oh, there he goes. Ishmael did lose a little traction coming and hitting that curve, and there's Conway Blanton sliding back past, and we are going to slide back to where we were about 30 seconds ago, but this fight is going to get spicy.
This fight, too, Electric Boogaloo, Lebret on Blanton, as they're going to go down here and try and make this pass in Sector 2. He's going to get it done around the outside. You don't see too many passes on the outside made right there, but it does happen, and I'm glad Lebret made that little bit of mistake, as here comes Octane again, trying to get on Blanton, trying to get that fourth or fifth place position, and he gets it done. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, and is it done? I think it just might be. Between the two of these, yes, indeed, Octane has the position, and I'm glad Lebret made that mistake, because otherwise we were going to have him solve a CAPTCHA at the end of this race, because in that car, what he has been doing just seems inhuman.
Yeah, that's just nuts from Lebret. I mean, this whole race, he's just been so consistent in, you know, these very damp conditions, and you know, all these puddles that the Audis have been struggling with. Lebret has just done his best to avoid pretty much all of it. Unfortunately, something I am going to point out really quick is that Nell, who was in the provisional P1 there for a moment, did apparently have some technical issues, disconnected as he was coming through the chicane a few laps ago. So that is going to pull Nell out of the race, our third V12. All three of the Aston V12s doing very well in this race overall, as obviously, you know, Octane and Blanton that we've been watching fight with Lebret there are both in that Aston V12. However, back here in the other Aston Martin is Sebastian Brunier, still behind Bellasane here. He has not been able to get past. So Bellasane, even though that front end of that car is pretty beat up, he's still doing his best to hold on here as we crest 9 minutes remaining in this race. Current leader still Alistair Gillies. Delau for the AM class. Lehman is catching up to Delau, though, only a couple seconds back. Conway still all over the back of Gillies in the pro. And Jesse, I might be proved wrong here. You know, Gillies is doing his best to just throw down these consistent lap times. Conway's only got eight minutes here or so to go. Same thing with Lehman. If he can catch up to Delau, we might see a fight for P1 in both classes here coming down to the last lap.
So it's ebbing and flowing between Gillies and Conway for the overall lead right now. Conway has got it consistently under a second right now. He has been close as about 6/10, and now it's back up to 9/10. But I think that's just the strengths of the cars.
Wait, hang on. Can you go back to Lehman for a second there, Stewie? I think he's just passed Delau. He did. He can't. Delau had a mistake made, and there is Lehman coming past him. That is Delau behind now. So we do have that lead change for AM. Sorry to interrupt you, Jesse, but I caught that in the background. Delau must have lost traction somewhere. I'm sure our resident spotter here behind us will find out some information, but there it is right there. At least the AM class lead has changed, and here is Conway now up on the back of Gillies. The question is, who gets the run out of the final corner here? Conway diving down into that corner. There's going to be lap traffic.
Now?
Did
Gillies have a mistake? A minor mistake?
I don't know. I don't see any damage on that thing, but I think he may have just went off. That last lap was definitely slower than it normally should have been. And there is Conway all over the back. Ferreira pulling over to make sure he is up out of the way, not having the best race himself, not able to get the move done into turn one, but 7 minutes to go.
Well,
what's
Mike,
going to happen?
You mentioned something at the top of the show that I'm going to repeat, and you figured that the Lexuses would have a field day in this weather, and it shows up here at the 11th hour. That is going to be the case. I mean, that Lexus, of Lehman, that thing has been on a rail all day today. He stayed in close contact with the Delau, and Delau makes one little mistake and gives up that time and the position. What a win it would be for Lehman, though I will say, actually, he has fallen off quite a bit, it must be said, has Delau. You got to wonder if Delau has the wrong tires or something on that car in an unfavorable position. Still raining here at the Nurburgring. Track temperature has been steadily decreasing. We started at 25, 23 C. It's now 21, 18 on ambient. But
I think
it's been damp and raining the entire time.
Our helpful gentleman in the booth here did tell us that while Jesse was talking there, Delau had a couple of moments through the Schumacher S's as well as in turn 2, turn 3. So I think he's struggling with tires. I think those tires are done. Maybe overheating for him if he's running wets and he's got his tire pressures too high. Maybe they've been overheating for him, and we know that Porsche eats through tires. So 6 seconds back, he's got quite a bit of space there to P3, but if he can hold steady. However, what is not holding steady here is Conway's gap to Gillies. This is just constantly
I'm trying to
fluctuating.
figure out if I have enough time to pop some popcorn before the end of this race, because this is going to get big here in the final minutes. Conway, pictured here in the purple and gray Audi. You're watching through the back wing of Gillies. This is 1 and 2 in the race. 5 minutes to go, just after 5 p.m. in sim time here at the Nurburgring in Germany. Glad that all of you are with us for this exciting conclusion of round 3 of the Night Owl Championship. Again, we invite you to like and subscribe and join us here most days out of the week for fantastic sim racing, and if nothing more than to join us next weekend at the same time for round 4 of the Night Owl Championship. Thank you guys in Europe and Asia staying up late, hanging out with us, watching some fantastic racing here today. It's going to come down between these two, we suspect, as they are nose to tail. Gillies, who started second, who ran down into turn 1 over Belisane and drove away, and Harry Conway, a man who drove up through the top half of the field to get where he is. Both worthy, but only one can win. And this man, the story of what may have been Belisane in the mix all day. Massive incident on the back straight here. Clattered the wall, big style, as I would say, and has found himself all the way back in 6th place. That is the AM leader, Lehman, right behind
He's
him.
past Brunier.
Yes, he has. That's Lehman there, who is looking to get even more positions. There's no blue flags or pullover flags for cars on the lead lap, even though they are on different classes. They all are in the same machinery, of course. So this is a straight up fight between Belisane and Lehman, and I suspect Lehman's going to get around him, but I would really like to go back up front because I don't know. I would like to see who is going to win this race.
2 laps to go.
He's going to pull way out to the inside as Conway. He's going to be a little bit too far back here. Don't know if the Porsche just has the legs or what down the front straightaway, but Conway has not really had it there. He seems to have better turn in, and they're pretty equal off, I would say, but I think Conway's beating that Porsche into the turns.
Yeah, I think so. There's 2 main setups you can run with an Audi, either a very high wing or a very low wing. You either max it or dump it out. I want to say that Conway's probably running the high wing for that downforce here today in the moist conditions.
Don't say that word.
Too little, too late, Jesse. It is Sundstrom has arrived to watch the end of the race. Sundstrom, you have missed one heck of a race. However, it is not over yet, as we're currently watching Conway all over the back of Gillies. As Jesse said, he seems to have, the speed through the corners for the most part, but Gillies is able to get the traction down coming out and subsequently just throw himself down the straightaway. We will have 1 lap to go once these guys cross the line. They are approximately halfway through their lap, about 1:05 in, about 50 seconds or so to go before they will cross the line, and that is going to put them on the final lap. Conway going to have about another 2 to 3 minutes to throw this down the inside of Gillies somewhere and get it past, or will Gillies make a mistake? He gets a little sideways coming out of that corner, but I don't think that's going to give Conway enough of a run. Conway does close up the gap here, and maybe it will. There we go. He's going to have the inside into the first chicane. Inside on the way into the first chicane, but it won't even matter. He's going to get it done before there, and there's Conway taking the lead with about 1.25 laps left to go. Conway finally scrubs himself up to P1, throwing it down all race long. I did not expect that either. Gillies just losing that little bit of traction, and as we know, that is all it has taken all race long. A little bit of traction loss here, a little bit of traction loss there. Conway is taking the white flag. He is 1.4 seconds ahead of Gillies as they cross the line. Lebrec too far back in third to probably make a difference here. Lebrec is not just now crossing the start-finish line, 8.3 seconds back. If Conway can keep this consistent, that is going to be his first win of the championship for the Vacuum Cleaner Boys Audi this week.
Cleaner Boys.
Vacuum Cleaner Boys Audi. This man has put on a hell of a race today in that 28 Audi, being probably one of the most consistent drivers in the field. Lebrec being one of the more consistent drivers as well. Not quite consistent enough. Apparently, back in the background as well, Belisane has had the struggle finally. Lehman and Brunier have both made it past him. That is Brunier up into P6 in Pro, P7 overall. Lehman running away with his AM-Class lead as well. Those Porsches have both struggled back into P2 of both of their classes. We are watching Harry Conway take more or less at this point a victory lap after that just amazing pass that he made about a lap ago.
It was like he had a different gear. I've never seen anything quite like that. Harry Conway absolutely demolishing the Gillies on the way out. And for Gillies, there's nothing to feel bad about. You ran your race. You're going to get second place. You're still solid. You're in this championship. You have a chance to win it. I know he would like to bring home the trophy here today, but you got to think about the big picture, and nobody ever really gets mad. I wouldn't get mad personally for winning a championship and finishing second in a race. You know, folks, for a day that started out about talking about how Audi would struggle, and seeing all of the Audis have struggles inside the top 10, one Audi is going to rank supreme here today and overcome the odds. Harry Conway is going to win the third round of the Night Owl Championship at RCI TV. And what a fantastic story it is for that man. Alistair Gillies is going to come home second, and Lebrec, a very, very close third. As it turns out, he almost closed that gap. He needed a few more laps.
So
Bill-
I just noticed, by the way, Jesse, Urquizy actually had a hell of a race after his earlier instance. Man still came home 8th in
He
class.
was down in like 17th.
He was. He came home 8th in class. Has not quite crossed the line yet, but they are pretty close. So Urquizy has actually had a pretty reasonable race, even though his teammate Bellasane have. By the way, I just did a little math on the points. Mr. Conway, if I'm not mistaken, we're not done. Delau and Mathis here. This isn't for.
Oh,
this
they're
isn't for
touching.
class.
They're touching.
This isn't for class here. That is Hopkins in the back that Delau is. I think Delau said, okay, you know what? Nope, I don't care. This isn't
Delau's
for
trying to
points.
win a championship. Oh, but he gets wide.
He got wide, but not quite enough. And I think Delau at this point, he's just like, nope, okay, my guy's 4 seconds back. You know what? You want it? You go right ahead.
Yeah, Delau
take that position.
That's smart driving. Delau's trying to win a championship. I get it. I respect that decision.
Yep. So yeah, this is probably good strategy by Delau there. Hopkins did catch up quite a bit. He's now only about 2 seconds back. He lost quite a bit of time, but unless Delau happens to lose it in this last corner, that is going to be a P2 for him and a P3 for Hopkins in that Lexus.
Oh no! Massive incident. Delau goes around into the final turn, and Hopkins is going to go through. That is going to be second in AM on the final corner. The tires giving up on Delau's car, and that's going to cost him a position and vital points in a championship he is attempting to win. Oh no! I am so glad Stewie went to that for the end so we could see that. Well done by our broadcaster today to bring us the final finishers, and that's why you don't give up on an attack or a race. That was absolutely devastating.
Oh man, that was just absolutely ridiculous. That was an hour long, all hour long of just what is happening. I don't think, Jesse, that I have been more confused in a race in the entire time I've been commentating racing.
Mike,
that was insane all race long.
The last time I was this confused at a racetrack, I'd shown up to the wrong one.
Pretty much. That sounds about right today. And of course, Conway still bringing it home. As I was trying to point out before we realized Delau was having a moment, if I'm doing my math right,
yes,
Conway has just tied Lebrecht for the points lead. I believe.
Oh, you're kidding.
I believe that he just tied Lebrecht for the points lead.
Well, folks,
Delau is still. I think Delau is still going to hold on to P1 and AM, but. Oh, what a race from Conway.
Now you have to come back next Saturday night for Night Owl because you got to know who takes the points lead.
Oh, man. So next week, race 4 of 5 here for the Night Owl Championship. So we have 5 races in total. Next week will be at the Mizzano race circuit. Our finale the week after at Suzuka. Our finale will be a 90-minute finale as well. So these guys will have a little bit of a longer race for the finale. Are there
more points on offer for the final round?
There's not. It is just a longer race.
Oh.
It will require tires in your pit stop, though, however. So it's going to add some additional strategy in for Suzuka. 90-minute race for the finale. 2 more races to go. Absolutely insane racing today. Join us, guys, tomorrow. We have a Japan Cup event at Suzuka. In fact, I will be racing in that one myself, if I'm not mistaken. Mr. George Smith will be here tomorrow to join us for that race, and then we will have our Monday McLaren Cup coming up on Monday, and the first round of our Friday Endurance Championship happening this next Friday, the 25th, brought to you by none other than Ryan Gill, Jesse Lee, and George Smith, the trifecta of commentators here at RCI TV. The boys will be bringing you our Friday Endurance Championship. That is 2-hour races. Two teammates in each car. That will be 30-minute stint timers to kind of simulate the sprint weekend from GT World Challenge Europe. These guys will have to driver swap 3 times during the race. Should be a hell of a race. And of course, our 12 hours of bathurst coming up in a few weeks. If you guys are interested in joining any of these races, jump on our Discord. Link is in the description. You can come join us for any of these races. Come in, race with us. We would appreciate all the support. And as Jesse says, the subscriptions here on YouTube, come on back and watch us anytime we bring these races to you multiple times a week. It's been a hell of a show, Jesse. Any last thoughts?
Well, I just want to say congratulations to Harry Conway. He was on it all day and he got rewarded for it. Lehman as well, winning in AM, and all of our competitors for sticking it out today. It was tough conditions. Good recovery for H3 Racing. They had a race that they will likely want to forget. Still finished inside the top 10, but it was a heck of a race. It was a hard race, and it was absolutely incredible to watch. And like most races, Mr. Mike Jones, I am none the wiser because I'm going to have to watch that back to make sense of what we saw today. Just wanted to say on behalf of everybody here at RCI, thanks for watching, and we appreciate you guys taking time out of your Saturday evening. Mr. Mike Jones, always a pleasure calling it with you, and thank you to our broadcaster, Stewie.
Absolutely, Jesse. Have a good night, guys.